Do you think emojis will ever make it into the dictionary?
Oh God, I hope not.
I think the Oxford English Dictionary's word of the year for 2015 was an emoji.
No.
Is the word for 2016 just going to be like the Black Santa emoji?
Maybe it'll just be a space. There'll be nothing there. It's got so short. It started off at like big words. It's got shorter. It's become an emoji. Next year, nothing.
Just a pregnant pause, a silence.
Do you think that like the dictionary committee sometimes just admit popular phrases and kind of cultural references into the dictionary to raise hype about the dictionary? Or
Yes.
is it, yeah?
Definitely. Like, I think a lot of it is stuff that's entered into the zeitgeist, though. So it's popular at the time, which is what then gets people talking about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it into the print editions, but it'll be on the online edition.
Ah, you see, I was under the impression it was in the print editions.
They probably want to make sure their publication and their jobs remain relevant as well.
Yeah.
By putting out at least one highly publicised document or press release a year, perhaps.
Selfie, is it? That's
Selfies in there.
that made it this
Same
year
as,
or the year before, didn't it?
What was a really annoying one? Like not Awesome Sauce, but
Cool beans,
no,
totes,
no, it's like a
amazeballs.
Amazeballs. What fucking bullshit that is. Like, that's not a word.
There's two words. Made one. It's a portmanteau. It's amazing. And balls. Which is an oxymoron if ever I heard one.
Why is that?
Why? Balls are
Well,
great.
balls used to
We
be an
actually-
exclamation of, oh, that's balls. Same as pants back in the 90s.
No, there are plenty of words in the dictionary that mean opposite things. Sanction.
Opposite.
No.
Race car. Same forwards and backwards.
Palindrome.
I don't think that's the opposite.
That's a palindrome.
Thank you.
That's all right. Do you know what a spoonerism is? Spoonerism is where you swap the first two letters of two words. So Betty Swallocks becomes...
Sweaty bollocks.
Exactly.
Is that in the dictionary?
Sweaty bollocks.
Yep.
Probably. The two words
It's
separately.
the word of the year, 1981. Hey, it's Trufax time.
Trufax time.
Welcome.
Hello, again. This week, with us as always, we have the magnificent Ed Sanders,
Hello.
the regular Ryder Broadbent Smith,
Hello.
and myself, Daniel Hills, who deserves no adjective. This week, we are going to be talking about dreams.
That's
And
right.
to do research for this, I think we've all slept at least once a day in the past week.
Sometimes twice.
Yeah, I've slept more than I normally would this week.
I enjoy naps.
Do you dream
Do you
during
dream in
naps?
naps? Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I have really short dreams in naps. Or rather, and because a nap is short, I'll wake up straight after the dream has happened and sometimes remember it.
Do you ever dream about contact information, which we should share now before we get too involved in discussion?
Coming to me in a haze. I see www.facebook.com/trufaxpodcast.
Oh, that's good.
That's
So how does that look in your dreams?
Blue.
Just
With
blue.
a bit of white.
Yeah, like a web page.
I've seen those.
It's got a logo.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a Vision Quest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get in a sweat lodge and then go on this ultimate quest to not only like us on that Facebook page, but then subscribe to us on iTunes?
I think I see that.
Yeah. Is that in the future of us and our listeners?
It is.
It's in everybody's future.
It should be in everybody's future.
Yeah.
What about Twitter? Does that figure in?
Twitter's definitely in the present. It's in my present right now because I'm typing a tweet to @TrufaxPodcast.
To say that you're dreaming about us.
That would be a lie because I'm not asleep.
Or tweeting right now.
Yeah, but nobody, the listeners don't know that's a lie. That could be the truth.
Well,
Sorry,
we
I'm transparent.
could do a tweet and like right now. And then when they listen
we'll
to it,
have a
they could see that
competition.
tweet.
Okay.
Well, you can email us when you think the tweet was made.
I don't actually even have the Twitter app.
So yeah, anyway, that's it. truefactspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to email us for this thing that we're talking about now. But this week we're going to be talking about dreams. What is a dream?
So you know how your computers have screensavers? And that's like the thing that's going on when nothing else is happening. The screen should be off, really. But for some reason we want to leave it on So just a load of patterns come up on the screen.
So it's to stop us from just dying in our sleep. So our body's remembering to do something. Is that what you're saying?
Like I heard once, or read, I don't know, that the brain is addicted to stimulation. And when we go to sleep, there's no stimulation at all. Completely cut off from pretty much all sound, touch, vision. There's no sensory input.
Smells.
Yeah.
That's another sense.
And yeah,
arguably cut off from them as well. You're not so much in control of them when you're asleep.
I've had dreams that have been influenced by sounds in the background. So, like, there was some roadworks going on nearby, and there was this noise of like this, like a metal pole being struck. And in the dream, that turned out to be, it's like, oh yeah, that's the doorbell for my dad's house or something like that.
Do you ever get your alarm clock featuring in your dream just as you're waking up? Right in the edge of dreaming.
Mm-hmm. It's happened once or twice.
So, because the brain is addicted to the stimulation, it's picking up on these things. It's firing your senses off.
Oh yeah,
subconsciously.
So it's creating stimulation where there is none, and
because you're not actually using sight to piece it all together, your brain's having to fill in the blanks.
It tries to make sense of it. It tries to turn it into a rational, a story or a scene, and that becomes what I think is a dream.
Do you two both dream regularly? Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much every night.
Do you remember them?
Yes, more or less. I have quite vivid dreams that I'll wake up from and every now and then be a bit kind of freaked out from because of how real it felt. So, I mean, I in the past I've tried to kind of jot down dreams that I've had when I've woken up and things like that. Then you read them back in the morning and they
Dream journal. It's
Dream
very
journal,
new age of you.
Is it? I mean, it's about like 400 notes on my phone, so like.
I think it goes a long way to help you understand who you are. I say dream journals are new age in a dismissive way. I don't mean that at all. It is probably a useful tool. I dream. I think I mentioned it before on the podcast. I tend to have very mundane, kind of lucid dreams first thing in the morning. Like I'm not really in REM sleep. I don't think. I'm probably awake and just thinking.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm so in control. I don't even know if they're real dreams, but they're like little fantasies or delusions almost that I play out when I should be asleep, and maybe aren't, or maybe I am. I don't really know.
I used to have dreams like when I'd have to get up for school and have the same routine every morning. If I'd hit the snooze button and I knew I should be awake, I'd have the dream that I'd do all of the preparation for school and like get on the bus and have a shower and all that stuff.
Those are the worst because then you wake up and you actually have to go and do all that stuff.
And you have no time to do it, right? Because you snooze through it.
You've done the dry run. You don't need to put the effort in the second time either.
Guy, like, Ed, why do you stink today? Well, I dreamt I had a shower.
I was watching Zardoz today, which is a fantastic film starring Sean Connery.
Pretty convinced this is a dream of yours as well. And
I've shown you photographic evidence that this film is not a dream. But in the film. I don't want it to be. I wouldn't consider this spoilers. It was made in 1974, so it's okay to mention some plot points. Like
only from the first act.
Yeah, I'd say this is first act.
Yeah,
there are some there's this kind of society of humans who they don't sleep. They have full consciousness, as they say, and like dreaming or sleeping was something that was necessary for kind of previous humans to make kind of. To explore their consciousness in different ways, but this society doesn't need to anymore because they have full control over their consciousness.
Just before we talk about Sean Connery too much, not to derail the derailment,
go there.
Isn't that what a lot of like Buddhism and meditation is meant to achieve? Full consciousness. So you still need to sleep, like we're not staying awake forever, but through meditation you're fully in tune of your consciousness even when you are sleeping.
Maybe. I don't know.
So is that what this future is based on, where everyone's been able to meditate to a point where they are fully aware of everything they and their body are doing at all times? Is everyone just a Buddhist?
Is
Sean Connery a Buddhist?
It's shrouded in mystery about what's happened. Sean Connery is a barbarian. He's a rampant who's just like killing.
So is he one of the people that does still sleep?
Yeah. And he kind of infiltrates this society.
He's not a Buddhist.
Yeah, and they're all like,
he's
"What is he?"
Buddhist. Tell me the rest of what happened.
I can't. You just need to go see the film. It's only about an hour and a half.
Where
really
can we just go and see it?
The
showing
internet.
in all the local multiplexes.
I've got it downloaded. I'll give it to you.
Let's do a screening.
Yeah.
For the Trufax listeners.
for the Trufax listeners.
There's
How?
quite a few of them. There's like 20,000.
We'll do an audio
Trufax
screening.
listeners.
In an unexpected turn of
a
events,
lie.
we'll do a commentary for Zadar. That's going to be
Be
next
like
week's
Mystery
episode.
Science Theatre, but
Shit. And without any visuals to go with what we're saying.
So a dream is like a thing that happens when you're asleep. But what about a daydream? That's a dream.
I think that's you just kind of drifting off and not
think,
really
yeah.
being present, coming up with kind of an idea or fantasy in your head and just kind of following that along. And that's just kind of, yeah, I guess like your consciousness not really being present when you're awake.
Yeah, if anything, it's like the opposite of a dream almost. Because if a dream is when you're not conscious and your body is forcing you to be conscious, a daydream is where you are conscious of everything and your body, well, your brain kind of opts out of that and goes off on its own flight of fancy.
So you're choosing at that point to go and just
Yeah,
think whatever you want.
whether you're consciously choosing to have a daydream, something in your brain has gone, I'm not interested in this.
I think there's similarities to sleeping because it tends to come from boredom, doesn't it? Daydreams come from when you've got like no real stimulation and it's kind of relaxing environment, or you're warm and you just start to wonder what would happen if a car crashed through the wall right now. Or
Do you think that's what dreaming is like the body sleeping and just kind of regenerating itself, and the mind is just really bored, so it just starts making these like weird stories and narratives or just
I think
imagery.
It is, yeah, you're trying to make sense of all this crazy stuff that's going on.
Well, that leads me to the question I was going to ask, if I may.
Yes.
You may.
I'm just going to look it up for the correct phrasing.
Sure. Do you want a true fact about dreams while you're looking it up?
I would love a true fact about dreams.
Not about dreams, sorry, about sleep.
I would love a true fact about sleep.
I know why we sleep.
Wait, I thought we didn't know why we sleep.
No, we do.
Ed does.
I saw a TED talk about it.
Whoa.
Ed and one man in TED knows.
Well,
I'm ready to be enlightened.
it's a public TED talk. Okay, so the lymphatic system. Are you familiar with this?
No.
No.
So you have two circulatory type systems in your body. One is blood that is pumped around and provides the energy for your cells in the form of oxygen and all that. And there's another system that isn't so much pumped around by a vessel like the heart. It's more osmosis type thing, which
Okay.
is the lymphatic system. And what it does is it gets all the waste products from respiration and takes them away from the cells, processes them and gets rid of them from your body. So this system runs in tandem to all the blood vessels in your body, in every single part of your body except your brain, where there isn't the space for it. So during the day when you're conscious, your brain is building up all the waste products
Yeah.
of respiration and has no way of getting rid of them.
Yeah.
And then we sleep, because at that point
It needs to happen.
that's when the lymphatic system
So
takes
sleep
place.
is basically like an exhaust for your brain.
So it's kind of there are those case studies where they've deprived people of sleep intentionally, and they start to kind of go a bit delusional and insane. It's kind of like being in a garage with the doors closed and your engine running.
Right, exactly. There's so many waste products going around.
Huh. Yeah.
And obviously your brain tries to get rid of these throughout the day
Yeah.
with good reason, because otherwise it would make you lose consciousness.
That's really interesting.
True fact.
Yeah.
Was that an actual true fact?
No,
A
it's a
bona fide true fact.
It's a real one. I mean, again, I probably watched this video about a year ago, so I wouldn't...
It's on the cusp. It's on the cusp of being a true fact.
It's not verbatim. It's probably 90 to 95% correct.
There's still more than we can hope for, usually.
Yeah.
Well done.
So I
Thank you.
believe that's why we sleep.
Okay, cool.
Have you found your question?
I have. Thank you, Ed. Question 1. Do you think dreams help us process that which we don't understand?
Probably. So you said you write dreams down. Do you ever write your dreams down, Ed?
Yeah, I've taken a few notes on my phone.
And reading back, does it make sense to you?
It helps me remember them, but only kind of very specific images of that dream. So, for example, like I had a dream the other day about being prosecuted by Hulk Hogan because his kids were watching me urinate and I pushed them or something like that, and then I got done for like physical violence, and I just have quite strong imagery of that whole trial process and like this building where I was living and stuff like that, and it is quite a strange dream.
Whenever I've had a dream that I can't really make sense of, I try and describe it in the broadest way possible. So sometimes I'll dream about a location that I don't, and like I'll visually remember it and I don't have any clue where it is or what it looks like or anything. And then I'll describe it back to myself and I'll say, well, it's up a flight of stairs and it's a small room and it's got white walls, and then I'll go, oh, I actually just described the place where I live.
Huh.
You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can't always make sense of it, like, directly, but then in some way it does still make
the bit of distance gives rise to that symbolism that's in there.
Yeah.
So it's that whole Freudian thing of anything protruding as a phallus, anything that's like a hole is a vagina, and then somehow that means we all want to sleep with our mothers.
Yeah.
So the symbolism is there if you look for it, but if you're not looking for it, it's just weird.
Yeah. And I guess I kind of mean as well, it's like you can have dreams that are relevant to what you've done during the day. I dream every now and then about work, or like, as in, I dream about the people that we work with. Maybe there's a few words or phrases that are the same in the dream as something they've said previously, but it creates a kind of whole different story, or it means it in a different way, and it's like maybe that's a part of something that my subconscious has stored and is coming out at that point.
Do you think dreams more readily pull from short-term memory than long-term memory?
A mix of both.
Because I guess, like, if we're trying to recall something, it comes quicker from the short-term.
Yeah, that's true, but I think, like, I don't see my family very regularly. I probably see them like 3 or 4 times a year, and I often dream about them. I think that's just because they're quite cemented in my brain, because obviously in my childhood I would see them every single day.
So, like, do you think there's a hierarchy to where your brain pulls its information for dreams then? So you've got these cemented old memories, your family, parents, where you grew up, that sort of thing, stuff you're not going to forget about. Then you have your short-term memory, like the immediate past that is easy for you to quickly recall at the drop of a hat. And then just your normal long-term memory, like a hidden labyrinth of just weird facts and memories that are there if you really think about it. But you can't just recall if someone pressures you to suddenly think, hey, Ed, what were you doing on the 16th of May, 1997? It's probably in there somewhere. But it'll be 9 episodes until you remember.
It's a different kind of memory at that point.
Yeah, and your brain's not just going to... Well, maybe it does. Maybe that's how the subconscious works when it comes to dreams. It'll just remember something that you'll never remember if you tried to actively dredge that up yourself.
One of the recurring dreams I have whenever I'm stressed, and say I've got a job interview coming up, or a big project due, or something like that. It wouldn't be the same dream, but it would be the same premise each time. I would always be at a train station, and I'd always be rushing for my train. The train station could be in a different building each time. It could be like it could be in the school building where I grew up. It could be the place where I live. But each time I'm always rushing to find my platform, to find the right train, and to get on it in time.
Have you ever looked up the meaning of these dreams? Like, you see all those. I've worked in bookshops for most of my life, and some of the best-selling books, or certainly the best ones to just flick through idly, were these dream dictionaries, where you just like pick a word or pick like a handful of things that are in your dream, and then you piece together this narrative of what it all means. Have you ever done that and looked it up?
No.
Let's. I'm going to find a website now. We'll pick that train dream, and we'll see. We'll see what it means.
Okay, I'm happy for you to do that. Do you think, Ryder? Do you think that while Dan's doing that, dreams help you make sense of what's going on in your daily life?
I know that I've in the past placed a bit too much significance in dreams that I've had, especially if like you're dreaming quite vividly. They become, I guess, they're very personal. And if you start to kind of believe in the dreams that you've had, if you know what I mean, like, isn't it like I remember once I woke up thinking that something had happened to my sister, or that my sister was in danger. And it was just because like she'd been out for the night or something like that. And I think there are times that it can, if something's on your mind heavily, it will influence the things that you dream about.
To me, reading into a dream kind of seems a bit like reading into a TV show. You can do, because the relationships or the characters in a show are based on real things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is all made up.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Go for it.
So I searched on one website. I do know how to use the internet, I promise. I typed in train on a dream website, and it came up and said, "We can't find train. Did you mean sex?" So I guess that's the train going into the tunnel. That's the Freudian meaning of your dream.
Well, there were no tunnels in the dream, but thanks.
But then I found an actual meaning.
Okay.
So you said you're running towards a train, and are you missing the train, or are you getting on the train?
I usually get on the train.
Cool.
In the end.
So the railway station itself means you're moving towards something new. It's a travel hub. That's where you're going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you miss the train when you're running for it, it would mean you're feeling left out of opportunity. If you're getting on the train, doesn't say anything.
What if you're waiting for someone to arrive? Is that listed?
No.
Because
this website's rubbish.
I had a dream where Dan was overexposed, depending on your view of exposure of.
I mean, most people in train stations aren't like that, are they?
No, yeah, that's fair. I had a dream where Dan had his member out walking along, and I pointed out to him, and he was very aware that it was out and just carried on around his business. But it was in the train station. We were in transit.
Still talking about the train stations here. Leaving someone behind or being left behind. Did you felt left behind because I just rushed off?
I think we'd been in contact earlier on in the dream, so it was like I was seeing you. There were other people, and I was like, Dan's going there. I'm going to go somewhere else. But it was kind of going different.
So I guess that's
ways.
The same. So we're leaving each other behind. That means you've got feelings about loss of a spouse.
Oh.
Breakup of a relationship.
Oh.
You've been left alone. There's change of some sort that you're frightened of.
Okay.
You're watching someone else take a direction or get involved in things that mean parting.
Oh.
Now, whether that's literally you wanting to be involved in just having your penis out in a station, and I didn't invite you to it, I'm sorry. That's not something I do in real life, just for the record.
You said that. Do you figure things out as part of dreams?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm always quoting documentaries I saw ages ago.
That's good.
Here we go with another one. So if you learn a skill or a piece of information one day, you're more likely to be good and more skilled at it the day after you've been to sleep in between the two. There was like some study on children in school.
I can imagine that. Like, it's giving it time to sink in. Like, especially what you were talking about earlier, like with the kind of the sleeping being a process for the brain to kind of vent and exhaust itself. It's like that's useful information that it doesn't want to vent.
It gets rid of the excess and moves it from short term into long term at that point, doesn't it? If I'm correct.
Like a filing cabinet,
like temporary RAM.
Yeah. This is in your in tray, and then your brain secretaries come and gone, oh yeah, this is good, we'll keep this, put this in this filing cabinet. Oh, this is trash, we'll chuck that.
Yeah.
And then at some point you're having weird dreams about elephants.
What do you think? How do you think your brain decides what's relevant and what's trash?
That's a very difficult question to answer, because I retain the weirdest things. Like I watched a lot of TV during the golden age of television, like the early 2000s, when network television was like premium cable drama, and I can recite facts about the most obscure cast member from like a 2003 one series show that aired, but I'm rubbish at geography. I've forgotten most of my math skills that I got from school. I've forgotten how to talk because my voice is slowly disappearing.
Ryder, what were you going to say?
I think it's based on personal interest. Like, you may not have an interest in geography, therefore you haven't your subconscious hasn't retained that memory, but because you might have been invested in that show, you did a little bit of research, or maybe while you were watching the show you looked up some trivia about that person, and it's just kind of associated it to that. As
we discovered in the maps episode, there's really not any need for us to be interested in geography unless we're actual cartographers. We've kind of got somebody else doing it all for us these days, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my question to the group today is, why do some people think that dreams are meaningful and relate to their real lives, and other people just dismiss them as completely irrelevant?
I think they can be like a symbol of hope for a lot of people. You have a dream that you can derive some positive meaning from, then why not invest in that idea? Chase the dream. That's where that comes from. What I take umbrage with dream being used in that sense is a dream basically is fantasy, it's not reality. So if you have like a personal dream, it goes beyond an aspiration or a goal almost. You're not acknowledging to yourself almost that it's unachievable.
Yeah.
I think people who I think some people are very happy with being quite firmly grounded in the reality that they can perceive and directly affect, whereas other people might be, listed as a dreamer, like people that aspire to something else that's maybe larger than the life that they're already in. And it's kind of similar to what you're saying. It's like it's something different to the normality of life, and it's maybe something that you can kind of latch onto.
Yeah, it's like escapism almost. It's like a movie in your own head. You go and see a movie because you want to escape your real life. You have these fantastical flights of fancy when you're asleep because your body wants to move away from the mundanity of your day-to-day existence.
Can I tell you where the question came from?
Yeah.
So, my town where I grew up is like a historic market town in the centre of England and has a history relating back to the Civil War. And one of the stories that's continually told to children is about one of the guys that lived in a house in the town, and he had a dream about a cannonball hitting his house and it being destroyed, and with all his family inside and them all dying. And he had this dream once and he disregarded it. He had this dream the second time, he disregarded it. But by the third time, he took the dream seriously and evacuated his family. And, you know, in the days following, his house was destroyed as part of the fighting in the Civil War. Now,
is that just coincidence, though?
So he could have been knowing, I mean, like, as in he could have known that the Civil War was happening and knew that this was a possibility, so he was like, I need to get out of this town before something that could potentially happen.
So if I was in the middle of a war would be on my mind. I would probably dream about war. The symbolism, I'm sure if I looked up on this wonderful website I found, it would say he was dreaming about sex. And then his urges were too much, so he moved his family out, and then next thing you know, his house is broken.
I think that you're either going to take that in one or two ways of like, oh, well, it's just coincidence, and that he just so happened that he was having these dreams and then he acted upon them and the thing happened. I'm sure there are lots of cases where people had dreams about that sort of thing, made an action, and then that never happened. But I think, you know, it's kind of bordering on that sort of premonition. Well, I mean, that's basically saying what it is. It's like it's seeing a future possibility.
And does it come down to the belief in premonitions then? Do you believe in premonitions, in dreams?
I don't personally. Like, I'm a skeptic. I've talked about being a skeptic before. I'm a firm believer in coincidence. Yeah. Like, things have happened to me around the same time as I've been thinking about them. Like, you think about a person and then next thing you know, you bump into them 2 hours later.
Yeah. I think I've, in a similar way of like, I don't necessarily believe in premonitions. I just believe there's significance in dreams. Like, I had a dream about my wallet being stolen, and then the morning I woke up with a text from my bank saying to give the fraud prevention team a call, and that someone had cloned my card and they tried to withdraw money in India.
That's freaky.
And the night before, I had a dream about someone looking at my PIN while I was putting it in and finding where my wallet was. But at the same time, I had spoken to a man at work that day about his business that had some fraudulent activity, like someone had stole some money from his business and things like that. So it was already on my mind, arguably. And I understand that is a coincidence. I think that there is, again, some potential
Do you think
thing in coincidence.
Does false memory play into it at all? So you've woken up and you're aware you've had a dream, you've read this text from the bank, you know you've had a conversation about a similar thing the day before. Do you then think, oh, yeah, that's what happened in my dream? Whereas your dream was probably, if we were able to record it in some way with some magic brain technology, it'll probably just be some weird abstract shapes.
I mean, but like I remember the dream, like as in I was at this kind of casino sort of place. I was playing.
Remember it? Where did you when did you start to fill in the specifics?
So I
Is
remember
it after you had the information from the bank,
No.
Did you have this memory first, and then did you read the text and go?
I'm not quite.
That's linked to people who say that they have dreams and wake up in the middle of the night thinking that this dream is the answer to everything. You know, it's the most. Like, it's the meaning of life, and then they write it down, and then they go back to sleep, and then they wake up the next day and read what they wrote in the middle of the night, and it just says orange juice.
Yeah.
And you're like, well...
I've had that whereas like I've woken up at late at night thinking that this is an interesting thing. I want to research this when I'm more conscious. I should write it down now so I won't forget. Nah, I don't need to write it down. Like, I'll remember this because it's so important. Fall asleep and then...
That's the worst.
It's gone.
That really is. But even in this moment of epiphany, are you actually having an epiphany, or is the part of your brain that tells you what's a useful, like really relevant epiphany, and what's just garbage is actually that part of your brain asleep too?
Yeah.
You know, and is that part dreaming?
Or is your brain working against you?
Like dreams within dreams within dreams.
Yeah.
Are we getting Inception on ourselves
it's very
here?
Inception there.
And like, do you ever have lucid dreams? So are you in control of this dream? So your subconscious isn't having it.
I don't.
You're fully conscious.
I've had.
So you're living through this thing because you know your bank probably has been defrauded in some way.
I've
so
had a lucid dream, like a couple of them, but only as in like I had a bit of a weird dream, woke up from it, was still quite tired, and went back to bed, and I basically wanted an outcome in that dream to be different, and then went back in and picked up where I left off, and had pretty much total control over things in there. Like there was this man who'd stolen some kind of documents or was going through some kind of like some stuff that was in a room that he shouldn't have been into, and I used like this baton that fired some birds at him, and then the birds lifted him up and took him away, and he was like, yeah, but I still all know this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not going to do anything about it because I love you. And he was like, okay. And then like it went like a week later, and it was just like this guy kind of went on a personal mission to then try and catch the group of people out rather than going public with it, which was what the initial resolution of that dream was. It was very strange.
But what did it mean?
I mean, I don't know.
What was the takeaway from that? Like, do dreams have to have meanings?
I really doubt it.
Like, do dreams have to have something that you can put stock into?
The simplest dream I ever have is just sliding off a chair or a bench. You know the falling dream that everybody gets? Yeah, that to me, that's just I'm sitting on a chair and I slide off it for some reason.
Isn't that how they wake up in Inception?
Yeah, you fall as an impact. So I have that, but I can never remember why. Like, I've been quite quiet on the dream front. I've been asking more questions because I don't remember any of my dreams. I'm pretty certain I have them. Yeah. I'm sure I do. I don't sleep very well either, so I don't know if I ever really achieve REM sleep to get real dreams occurring.
None at all. No recurring dreams. Nothing you can remember right from your childhood.
Yeah. So my question a bit later on is going to be about dreams we can remember. There's a few I can remember, but kind of day to day. No. I'm sure I've had a dream, but
do you ever have dreams that you, while you're I know you're saying you don't dream much, so
no, but I'm not saying. I'm saying but, I probably
do. So, for example, I had when I slept last night, I was in a dream that felt very familiar. As in, it didn't feel like it was a reoccurring dream. It wasn't like I had this exact thing happen before, but it felt like I was in the same narrative universe as a previous dream, and stuff kind of connected and linked up. Is that something you guys ever experience?
I get that sometimes, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be able to describe what happens in the dreams, but yeah, the sense of familiarity is definitely there.
There was a thing I had heard through other people in the past, like there's a drug called DMT or ayahuasca, which is like the kind of it in its herbal form, and there's a chemical that it releases in your brain that is apparently released in your brain when you go to sleep from your pineal gland. And people talk when they're like about their experiences on this drug of going to like feeling like they're being taken through other universes or talking to to different beings and things like that. And that is, from what I understand, something that has been scientifically proven to be released from your brain or a part of your brain while you fall asleep. Apparently you also release it, like it secretes it from your brain just before you die as well.
Did you say this was a chemical drug or a natural?
It's a mix, like as in ayahuasca has been used by tribes for thousands of years. It's one of like kind of the oldest.
Is that what they use when you go to like the sweat lodge and they?
Yeah.
Basically send you experience. No, is it that one?
Maybe there's DMT, which is then like in its, I think it's slightly more mass-produced form, but it has its kind of the same produced chemical and. Oh, wow. That might still be quite natural, but like I think it's this sort of thing where it's like it's two natural herbs that when combined create this thing, and
a lot of the Indians it was basically like psychotropic flowers, wasn't it, that you would eat and then have this out of body journey where you were meant to transcend yourself and your own consciousness and come to understand why you are being.
What happens to Homer Simpson when he eats the really hot chili?
Yeah.
And he sees the space coyote.
Yeah, it's seen as like a rite of passage in a lot of indigenous cultures, and I think that's, I don't know, I feel that's kind of significant. Like that's something that thousands and thousands of years of human development has kind of led to, and while we're quite focused on industrial kind of civilized in inverted commas culture, like,
do you think that's what any type of drug does? Not medical drugs, they seem to be in a separate category, but any kind of recreational drug, even alcohol, it induces this kind of waking dream of you're not quite the person that you were before, because when you're drinking alcohol, you're slightly more confident, you're slightly more sexy, you're slightly more interesting than you ever thought you were before. Do you think that's a type of drug-induced dream?
Well, a lot of them are inhibitors, or the opposite of inhibitors, aren't they? They turn bits of you on or off. It removes the balance from you, which I guess in a way is what is happening when you are dreaming. You've not got that rational part of you that's in control anymore, and you've ran away with yourself.
For some people, saying it takes away that balance. For some people, it can, in their normal mindset, they might feel that they might be imbalanced anyway, and that introducing something else that alters their perception of things brings that balance back. Yeah,
and is that why some people put stock in dreams in that case? Because they're lacking that balance, and they need whatever they're seeing in these dreams to bring that balance to their life, something to believe in, something to chase, something to follow.
In a way, being in a soft, comfortable, familiar bed is maybe where some people see themselves as they truly are, more so than they do when they're around other people, because they don't get that same
it's
reflection.
Definitely where I do my best thinking, but I don't know whether my subconscious follows through with that.
Yeah. You can never trust your subconscious, really, can you?
Well, I don't know how to talk to it. Like I can't remember what it's doing when I'm asleep. It takes over.
A bit of a background process, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just running now. I've shut down. I don't care anymore. It's doing its own thing.
Yeah.
Do you think they ever will develop like a dream reading technology?
I hope so.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. I think because it kind of feels with stuff like sleeping in an MRI machine, and they can monitor your brain while you're sleeping, and like see kind of changes in patterns and stuff like that. That's kind of half of it. Like you're getting the raw output, but I can also imagine that sleeping in an MRI machine would potentially produce different sleeping patterns, though, because you're going to sleep in an unfamiliar environment. It'd be great if we just had a little kind of headset that we could put on that then like links up to a projector, and then you can just have your dreams out there, or
that's
on
what
a recording
they do
device.
In the film Minority Report.
Have you seen Paprika as well?
Yeah.
Paprika's a great film.
I've seen Minority Report, but not Paprika.
Well, Minority Report, they kind of exploit these three people who have very special dreams,
Yeah,
don't they?
the precogs.
And they turn out to be real dreams as well. But then I think at one point in the film they go to that like dream cafe where they put dreams of people winning Oscars or in a brothel or something like that, where you can have these images almost projected inside your brain.
Wow.
Because do they get the feelings there as well? I can't remember it well enough. Because that's what I was talking about earlier about dreams being personal escapism. It's a movie for yourself.
That's true. And what if you discover something really sinister? What if you do discover, like, maybe you don't remember your dreams in real life, but then somebody else discovers that you dream of murder every single night, and your brain is actually protecting you by turning off the projector.
The essayist Chuck Klosterman, in one of his books, posed a very good hypothetical question about a dream VCR, where I can't remember the exact wording, but one choice is you have this dream VCR that records your dreams every night, whether or not you can remember them. If you could have this technology, but the only caveat to having it was that whenever you watched it, your family had to be in the room with you the first time you saw it.
No.
Would you want to know what your dreams
Absolutely
are, knowing
not.
that your
What have you
nearest
been
and
dreaming
dearest
about?
would find out?
Absolutely not.
No, I don't think so. Like I think, but maybe because you could just be like, yeah, but it's just a dream. Like I didn't do that.
But
Yeah,
then,
but
what do you think you're dreaming about in your subconscious that you can't remember?
Okay, no, let's just say this. I've had a few sex dreams. I've had a lot of sex dreams, and I would not be comfortable watching pornography, especially not pornography starring myself in front of my family.
Are you in your sex dreams? Is that what you're saying? Or do you know?
Like some of them, I think.
Or is it
maybe.
just abstract, sex is occurring? Or is it just trains going into tunnels?
I think you can say if you're the person experiencing the dream, or it's like you're having a dream from the perspective of someone having sex. That's you in the sex dream, and it like because at that point that is you. It's like,
is it you, or is it a different version of you? Is it a dream version of you?
It's the same way of like if you're an actor and you have a sex scene in a film that you're in. Would you want, and it's quite a graphic sex scene, would you want to watch that with your family?
Would it be recognisable as you if it is this dreamed version of you, a heightened version of you?
Yeah, but your parents know that it's come from your brain. They know that you're thinking these dirty thoughts. They know that you're...
Is it the smutty side of dreams that you'd be more ashamed of? Or if you're having dreams about them or about elements of your personality that maybe you'd rather keep
So far, there's no real bad elements of my personality I'd want to keep hidden, and also the dreams of my family are fairly mundane. We're walking around a maze or something weird like that. But
what if, when you're asleep and dreaming, you're predisposed with something that, if you knew about it, you would be ashamed?
Yeah, what if I accidentally stuck a pillow over one of my brother's faces and suffocated them at night? I would feel really bad watching this back with them afterwards, and I wouldn't want them to have that impression of me. I don't feel
so
like...
you would forgo the dream VCR?
Yeah.
Could be really cool though.
Like, it would be interesting. Like, as someone who doesn't remember their dreams, I would probably do it.
You would?
Like, if it goes really badly the first time, I'd never have to use it again. I'll just put it back in the box, put it in the attic, and be done.
Okay.
But just to have the experience once of knowing what I've been dreaming about or what I've been thinking about, I think that more than writing down what you can remember would explain more about
They
my
talk
dreams.
about having multiple dreams in a night as well, so it's like you may have a few dreams during the night process, and that they're not actually and that you join them up and connect them afterwards, whereas they're not actually the same thing. So I guess it's like watching a series of short films or something like that.
That often happens in dreams, doesn't it? You'll be like facing one direction in a room and it'll look like your kitchen, then you'll turn around and you face the other direction, it looks like your workplace.
Yeah.
But are you aware of the turning around, or is it just a sudden jump cut? Have you missed a bit of the dream there? You can't remember what happened in between.
Not conscious enough to notice.
I always see it as like a kind of just blending of worlds, like, isn't it? Kind of feels like everything just gets sucked between, and then you're in this other place, kind of like going through like a wormhole. Or did you ever see the film Jumper?
No.
Okay, they jump about places, and
name for a film. It sounds like it's about a sweatshirt. But anyway, they jump between.
Jump between places, and the transition that they use in that is kind of how I imagine or remember my dreams kind of changing. It's just like looking, like quite turning your head quite quickly, and
then you're somewhere else.
Yeah.
Have any of you seen Tomorrowland?
No, that's quite recent. That one, maybe last year.
Yeah, so like the big device in that is that you can travel between two realities by touching this little badge, but they both exist on the same plane. So it's full of these jump cuts where you'll be running along in our world, and then the woman or George Clooney or whoever's there touches the badge, and then suddenly she's somewhere else. But then as soon as you let go, you're back where you were before. And it's kind of played like a dream almost.
Yeah.
It's this utopian society that exists outside of time almost.
What would you want to learn from a dream that you watch back on a VCR?
I think it would tell me more about what I really am. Maybe what I'm trying to repress.
Repress?
Yeah. Because I imagine if my subconscious is doing its own thing at night, and then I'm choosing to not remember, or just simply can't remember, what is it that I'm not remembering?
Do you think it would show you direction in your life? Do you think it would give you, like it would show you, let's say every night for a week you dream of being a woodworker. When you choose to go and learn carpentry, is that the kind of thing? No,
because I think anything I would want to do, my conscious body and conscious mind would probably think, I'm really into woodwork. Yeah. I'm going to go and learn carpentry. Yeah. I don't think I would trust my subconscious enough. Like, if I dream it, it must be true. I don't think I would subscribe to that.
Yeah. So this is more just to understand what your subconscious is doing to your conscious mind.
Yeah, to see if it's in tune with what I am, then I'm just not remembering it because I don't need to. I agree with it. I've lived that life already. That makes sense. I think there's more to your question. What was your question?
Oh, my question was, why do some people believe in dreams and other people don't believe in them?
So I think people choose to believe what they want to believe, really. It's down to the individual rather than anything that's like pre-programmed into us, in my opinion.
One thing I got told by a friend earlier today is that in Italy, apparently they put a lot of stock in dreams and relate them to numbers. I think it's numerology. It might be, it might not be. But it's seeing significance in things they dream and then tying them into like lottery numbers. So they'll see lucky things in their subconscious thoughts, and then they play the lottery with it, and they are all super rich or super poor, depending on whether dreams are true or not.
I kind of go along with the coincidence theory.
Good. I'm glad. It's the correct one.
Thanks. I think. Yeah. I mean, in the example I gave, it was probably just a sensible decision for that guy to move out of the war-torn area and go and find a better place to live. And
I think if you're struggling with a decision, it maybe does lend some credence to what you think you should do anyway.
People say sleep on it, right?
Yeah.
If you've got a big decision to make.
And then if you've had a dream that happens to tell you the answer, someone presents themselves to you and says, yeah, you should move out. We're going to knock your house down. We being the Sandman.
The BFG.
Oh, the BFG.
Big Friendly Giant?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He catches dreams.
He does.
He puts sleep in people's ears to make them go to sleep. No.
Does he? No, they're already asleep. And then the giants all come out and they take the dreams and put them in bottles. And then there's the bad ones that do nightmares. But the BFG deals in good dreams.
Pretty sure it's been made into a film this year.
It is.
Yeah,
I've seen the trailer
really
for it.
big hand.
He has got a massive big eye as well.
He's a giant.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Imagine he was a giant just with regular human-sized eyes.
Aren't the other giants that'd be terrifying? Like a
terrifying,
chicken.
yeah.
Like chickens have tiny eyes in their heads.
And whales.
Yeah.
You know, they're huge animals. Tiny beady eyes. They're up to something.
As my question was, as you two both do seem to remember your dreams, what is the dream you most vividly remember? And did it have any impact on your life? Did you find some meaning in it?
There was a dream that I had that I asked quite a few people about, so that's maybe why it stuck around in my head quite a bit. But it was, I was in a big swimming pool at the top of kind of like this grassy hill. So there wasn't really any kind of end to this hill. It wasn't in any kind of particular location, but it was just a long grassy slope. And it was this kind of swimming pool that was at the top that was just on like different poles and things like that, and there were lots of different paths that you could choose to go down, and it was just a water slide. I was kind of being hurried along to take a choice of a slide, and I went with one that I wasn't too sure about, but went along on it. Fell off the slide quite early, and there were kind of these like grav lifts, sort of jump pads, so it was like this sort of thing you could stand on, it would propel you into the air so you could get back onto your slide if you fell off. And I fell off mine quite early after kind of like quite a long drop, but I couldn't get back on. However, I could jump quite high, and all of the kind of different slides were linking over each other or overlapping in different ways, so I kind of just jumped about, and I when I was in, I felt bigger than the other people that I could see going down their slides, and I could see people that I knew from my real life going down other paths and different slides and things like that. There was like a group of people that kind of looked like they were on a sort of log flume sort of thing, went down a big steep bit and had a bit of like a big crash, and they're also having a great time, but they weren't moving anywhere, and it was just kind of this big build up of people. So yeah, like that.
When was this, if you don't mind me asking?
About 6 to 8 months ago.
It was a very recent one. What was happening in your life at the time you had this dream?
I was still in the first 6 months of being in a new place, like in terms of moving to a new city, being in a different working environment. I was personally maybe trying to figure out things that I could do in my free time that I'd be more happy with.
So do you think the slides are like Ed running for the train?
It's
the movement towards a new place, but it's accelerated. You're already there. It's already happened to you. So that's the slide. It's moving faster.
Spoke to
its running speed.
I spoke to a few people about it, and I think it's like one of the things a friend initially said when I asked him about it was like the fact that it's water slides kind of indicates that it's like a kind of fun thing. Like you've chosen, it's like a different path of life is how I interpreted it at the time. It's like I've gone down a path.
You've gone wet and wild.
I think maybe observing other people on their paths that aren't necessarily like working out for them, but they're still enjoying it.
So you said there were grav lifts and stuff.
Yeah.
Moving you. Are they taking you back up to the top, or were other people on these lifts?
It was more that you could, so say there was like a dip on the path that you're on, and the lift that you have, it gets you back onto your path. I didn't necessarily see them like. So you've seen other people deviating? No, I was the only person
I
was the only person who was off piste, as you would say.
As I did say.
As we said.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Did you have that thought too, Ed?
I was miles behind, actually. I'm sorry. Reading through the notes on my phone to try and find my most lucid dream.
Yeah.
I've reread it. It's all complete garbage.
Can you read it to us verbatim, or have you just got the cliff notes?
I could read it verbatim. Would you like me to do this?
I want to see how garbage it is.
I dreamt I was a police officer called to the scene of a shooting. Upon trying to shoot one of the suspects, it became clear I had been given blanks and was in on the crime. but I decided to swap out the blank ammunition for live rounds and kill one of my fellow conspirators. This left me and one other criminal. The shooting was happening close to my house, but then it became inside my house. Then we started fighting with each other. Then we had banters about the trainers we were wearing. My assailant, the other guy who was in on the crime, was somebody I used to work with. I think he'd left my work by that point. Eventually, I got on top of the fight by breaking his nose. Then my parents were returning, and I wanted no part in their life. So we ran from the house, smashing windows to get out. We went in secret, running away together. The other man was now a person that I used to live with, and we ended up in a garden that was supposed to be a cemetery, but was more like the garden from my childhood. There was an energetic dog tied to a post, but we paid it no mind. We kept on going through the garden. Sorry, the tense changes through the notes. We kept on going through the garden until we ended up inside a large building where we were supposed to go to sleep, and I felt really free for having destroyed part of my old life, and I couldn't go back. The building was a house with many old rooms and a few modern ones towards the back. The person I was with now changed into another person who I worked with, and he told me to go to sleep in one of the old rooms, but I didn't want to do this because it was away from everyone else, and I felt like I'd become my parents. I started unpacking in one of the newer bedrooms of the house, closer to the other people who were there, and strangely, some of my bags were already unpacked in the room. There were cassette tapes under the bed, and that's where the dream ended.
And when was this? When did this happen for you?
The note was from the 14th of September 2012, so that was like 3.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. But had you been through some change at that point that kind of ties into the moving house?
I think.
Had you done any robberies?
Commit any crimes? Kill anyone?
As far as I can aware, no. I think that was just after I permanently stopped. I became financially independent from my parents.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that was it at that point.
And is you thinking or worrying about feeling like you're becoming your parents to do with that? Do you think you fear of being an adult and having to be independent
Probably.
now? Or are you embracing it?
Right now, I'm embracing it because
at the time, because it was new and.
Yeah, at the time I was one of those guys. I didn't commit crimes, but I never paid my TV license. I was a bad post-student kind of grown up. Bills, I don't need to pay them, or
who does?
Yeah. Well, I do now.
One day this podcast will pay the bills. If you ever hear us getting sponsorship, it's because one of us have got a red notice.
The dream that's had the biggest impact on me is actually just a very short. I can sum it up in one line, which is that I dreamt my father was still alive, and then I woke up and believed it for at least 2 minutes after waking up. Mm-hmm. And that had a really big impression on me. Not so much visually as a lot of dreams do, but quite an emotional impact.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so a memory of a feeling more than just kind of I guess that's a very real thing as opposed to a surreal turn of events like the other dream you've just mentioned. Yeah,
the other dream it's the classic one face merges into another.
And is it? There's a distinction between memory and dreams, I guess, as well. I'm sure when you're asleep you do just relive memories that aren't really dreams as such. It's just playback.
Well, I've never shot anybody. I've never been a police.
So that was a dream, obviously.
Yeah.
But then the one with your father is more a memory or a collection of memories.
Yeah, very much so. Probably like a memory of a feeling of how it used to feel to just sort of be making stuff in the garage on a Sunday afternoon, or watching TV or something.
Brain's running through a montage of visual memories and emotional memories, sensual memories.
Yeah, and I suppose in a way, even having come to a point in my life where I start to forget that kind of thing, or not have it be at the forefront of my mind, it's kind of nice to know that it is still there somewhere.
Yeah.
And that maybe my brain digs it up by accident every once in a while, but that's
or maybe on purpose even.
Yeah.
It's something you've thought about and have maybe squashed during the day when you've been awake, but then at night you're not putting that restraint on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some things you've got to squash, or I've got to squash in order to get through the day. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't indulge every single feeling.
Yeah.
But maybe your subconscious doesn't have those same restraints.
It's like dreams, I suppose, could be a form of catharsism as well. maybe a catharsis that you don't want to allow yourself to have during your waking life, but during your subconscious nighttime life, your body is free to do what it thinks it needs.
The kind of things that some humans are expected to deal with can actually be quite difficult to, or at least you're not expected to deal with those kinds of things in your waking life. You know, you're not like
we don't know how to cope with a lot of these things in our waking life.
They're huge. They have a huge impact, but they're not actually something that happens very often. So you don't get trained on how to deal with that kind of thing. So maybe it is like letting loose. That catharsis that you talk about is finally happening in your dreams.
Yeah, it's an inbuilt coping mechanism. It levels you back out. It does bring that balance back that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The dream I remember most is nowhere near as poignant or as water slidey. It's more a nightmare than anything, and I can't remember any details at all. I was probably 4 or 5. I don't think I'd started school yet. It's one of my earliest memories overall. I think my memory is terrible, generally speaking. But it was about these giant balls. Not in a testicular sense, which I can see is what you're both thinking. I was young and naive at that point.
No. Like Indiana
But
Jones.
just like perfect spheres, yeah. So have you seen The Prisoner? The big white balls that chase you? They're like big bouncing balloons that come and pick you up if you try to escape.
Yeah, okay, I know it from The Simpsons.
So yeah, it's a reference to The Prisoner and how they'd catch you if you tried to escape from the island.
So you dreamt about these?
I don't think it was I don't think I'd seen The Prisoner at that point. I don't think I'd seen Indiana Jones either. But it was like this feeling of dread and being chased. Yeah, all I can really remember from it is the sense of isolation and these spheres chasing after me, and I thought they were gonna kind of kill me or do me harm in some way. And from what I can remember, which again I don't know if this is true or how it happened, I kind of woke up in tears, like actually crying, and had to go and like seek solace from my parents because I couldn't cope with it. I didn't know what it was. It was so confusing. It was these feelings and emotions that a little boy couldn't deal with.
In your kind of waking life at that point as well, were you unwell? Were you
like I don't think so. I don't remember much about being a child at that age.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like my real memories start from when I was in school. Yeah. And like I say, I don't know whether this comes after I'd started school, before I started school. I was old enough to talk, and
was it reoccurring as well?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like I remember one very specific time where I woke up and then I was sat on the end of my parents' bed afterwards talking to them, and I don't know if the memory is even real anymore.
We've spoken a lot about regular dreams, but not so much about nightmares. That's probably the first time it's been brought up there. One of the interesting things for me is, like, as adults, do we still have nightmares, but they don't have as much of an impact? Or do we just grow out of them?
I think they get labelled as, like, anxiety dreams, or just kind of stressful experience.
But then, like, nightmares are just purely terrifying. Like, I think anxiety dreams and stress dreams are... They make us feel anxious and stressed.
I don't know about that. Like, as in, I like you kind of talking about a dream that you had in your childhood. I remember whenever I was unwell when I was younger, I had this dream that always kind of resulted in these big pillows being brought down from the loft that I would have to kind of like sleep on to get better. And there was like this kind of quite vivid imagery of, I guess, kind of like a worm going through cells, kind of like. I don't know, it's just this weird kind of image that I have associated to that dream. It was like I was unwell and had to get better, and I always had this quite stressful dream whenever I would be unwell. Like, that in itself wasn't a nightmare. I wasn't experiencing terror and things like that at that point, but I woke up and was in kind of fits of sweat. I was very distressed, and I would label that as a nightmare despite it not being horror as such.
Yeah.
And I could have that dream now and see it as still, I mean, maybe not that dream specifically, but a similar sort of dream that was nasty circumstance or just uncomfortable feeling. And while that is maybe something more anxiety related, I would still consider it a nightmare.
It's certainly not a good dream. Like when I say horror, I mean kind of a sense of dread or
Freddy Krueger,
rather than not necessarily Freddy. I don't mean like in the hack and slash kind of horror sense, but
You're definitely afraid.
You've got a sense of fear or of foreboding, rather. Like I've probably I've woke up feeling anxious before. I've probably been dreaming about things that have been happening in my day-to-day life that have caused anxiety anyway. But other than that one memory, I can't remember ever waking up and like being glad to be awake all of a sudden.
I think as a kid, there are a lot of things that are scary and big and that can.
I wonder if the spheres were just like the world, and because they were so blank and kind of perfect and formless, I was just afraid of.
Were there just two, or were there multiple spheres?
There's no, you're thinking of just two. It's the testicular thing coming back in.
Again. I'm sorry, it's very Freudian.
Yeah.
But I am, yeah.
Did Freud dream of balls? He just dreamt of shafts and caverns, didn't he?
I had to study Freud for a semester in university, and he said a lot about the uncanny, about things that you don't think are connected, but they always are. Like, let's say you go to yourself, I'm just going to take a random route to work today, and then you end up walking past your ex's house. To Freud, that's not coincidence, that's the uncanny, and the uncanny is linked to your sexual desires.
Well, everything comes back to trains going into tunnels with him. That's why you've gone to your ex's house.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wonder if these spheres were just like the faceless world, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I just had like major anxiety as a tiny boy.
That's funny.
Didn't want to grow up. I probably have them now. That's probably what my dreams would be in the dream VCR.
I have a nightmare as an adult, I always wake up with stomachache. It's always related to like a physical ailment or something. That
they're more like fever dreams.
It's my body's trying to wake me up, or it's experiencing something bad that's manifesting as a terrible dream.
I mean, saying that sort of thing, I can imagine. In the same way that a baby cries a lot when it's younger because it hasn't experienced that thing before, so it's just this new feeling or it's like experience.
Frightened of the wind.
Yeah.
Frightened of feeling happy for the first time.
That could have been a dream, like one of the more vivid dreams that you'd ever had for the first time, and because it was this new and strange experience,
it's just really shit me up.
Yeah.
Speaking of nightmares, actually, after the murder episode, I was talking to one of my friends about night terrors and a legal precedent that was set in the 1800s of people killing people in their sleep. There was a case in Scotland where someone was having a nightmare and subconsciously had tried to defend themselves, and they'd killed their infant child. Well, that's what an infant is. It was a baby.
Oh, God.
And they weren't... They were kind of prosecuted for the crime, but there was no sentence because... It wasn't necessarily malicious.
Wow.
And they'd basically punished themselves enough by killing their own child. They had to live with that.
Oh, God.
But that would be... that's a nightmare. And people have night terrors. Now it's like PTSD.
Yeah.
It manifests as night terrors in a lot of people.
And
I
get night sweats when I'm really anxious. Like, just get really sort of clammy. I don't know why I'm saying this. It's pretty disgusting, isn't it?
No, but what do you think causes it? Is that related to subconscious thought, or is it just a purely physical reaction?
Not much makes me uncertain anymore because I'm not in a position where I'm taking exams or I have to go and do big presentations. The only thing I've got properly nervous about in recent history was a job interview, and that was like a year ago. And that was scary to me. Like, looking back on it, it's just me sitting in a room with two other people for 30 minutes. Not really something to be
That's what you've done now, but for almost 4 times that amount of time.
Precisely, and I can talk shit as much as I like. This one, talking shit's what got me the job. So
this job, or the other job?
The other one.
Did we interview for this job? Is this still a prolonged interview? Is podcasting a job?
I think we just met in a pub one night, and that sparked this job, didn't it?
That's true. I wish all job interviews were like that. I'd never worry again.
It would just be so easy.
I've seen interviews be done like that, but I feel it's like it's that almost it's too casual. It's like they're trying to catch you out, and it's like you might say something accidentally offensive because you think you're in good company, and it's like aha, I've got you.
Or you say something accidentally offensive to yourself that they really love, and then you've painted yourself as a certain character, and you then have to carry on with the rest of your working life.
God, no.
Wouldn't like that.
No.
So, I think we've answered your question because it was quite a simple...
Yeah, I'm just interested more than anything as a man with a blank dream journal. I've bought one. I haven't.
No.
It's a sparkly silver book that
You should buy a video recorder.
No, I've hooked my dream catcher up to a dot matrix printer, and I'm hoping it'll just tell me what I've been dreaming about. But so far, it's come up blank.
Do you believe in dream catchers? Did you ever help you? I think
I believe
something that people
I don't believe they They catch dreams.
Yeah, because I think it's something that like younger people have generally had. Like my older sisters had them in their kind of teens, and then I was like, I want one. They catch the bad dreams and they prevent them, or they take them away from your head and put them in there.
They look like a spider web, and it's like a spider catches the flies. The dream catcher catches.
But I guess that kind of implies that the dreams are coming at you.
Yeah, they're coming from some higher power and they're feeding the dreams to you, which I suppose ties into the whole premonition thing. Some higher power is telling you this is what you need to be dreaming about.
I'm firmly in the side of this is a placebo.
Oh yeah, no, I don't believe in that at all. But I think that's the logic, isn't it?
Oh right, that's what they
I'm not saying I've suddenly had a change of heart. I believe dreams are definitely real.
They are shot out of a gun by a guy in the clouds. Fires them into your head.
He shares a cloud with Cupid.
Yeah.
He's firing his love arrows out, and then the Sandman's firing his... The Sandman brings you dreams, right? That's what he does, or does he just put you to sleep?
Who's this Sandman?
Mr. Sandman.
Yeah.
Mr. Sandman.
Yeah, that Mr.
Bring
Sandman.
me a
dream.
Oh my! Oh,
Yeah.
wow!
So
I thought it was a drink.
He's the
So irresponsible, this Sandman. Yeah, another margarita.
because you're parched, because you've got a throat like sand. Is that what you're thinking?
Was he there before the song, or was the Sandman made in that song?
I think the concept of Sandman is maybe in reference to the sleep you get in your eyes. This
a
sand
little sand.
But yeah, does he actually bring you a dream, or is his job just to put you to sleep so you can have dreams? Is he like a dream postman, or does he just come and knock you out?
Maybe both. Could come and knock you out. Or does he just punch you in the face? That's not.
Yeah, that's how he puts you to sleep. That's how I get to sleep every night.
Why would somebody be singing about that? Hey, you, come and punch us in the face.
Well, he does it very softly and gently. And you fall into a sweet and gentle slumber.
Softly being put to sleep is being smothered.
Killing me softly.
With his song.
Well, I think we talked about dreams.
Yeah.
And some other things.
Good little episode we've got there.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I've learnt a lot about the both of you and learnt nothing about myself.
We've dreamt that you dream about giant balls.
And I probably will now. I'll come back next week and tell you all about my new dreams that I've just been thinking about giant balls.
But for the time being, it's goodbye from me, Ed. Goodbye.
That's goodbye from me, Dan. Goodbye.
And goodbye from me, Ryder.
Thanks for listening. Sleep well. Dream a little dream for me. I sound like a late night DJ.